Why JD Vance? What political benefit might the Trump campaign hope to gain from this election? This is Kotel. Let's talk politics. JD Vance, senator from Ohio, has been selected as President Trump's running mate. Trying to better understand this choice, there are a number of political factors that may have been at play. Primary goal for any political leader is to gain and retain power to enact their policy preferences, and the selection of a VP fits into that model as well. Although being able to serve as a replacement for the president, while expected, it is not a factor I look at as it is universally applied to all potential picks. There are also legitimate questions about whether a VP pick even has a measurable and enduring impact on presidential races in recent history. I'm going to assume in my analysis that whether or not it does, in fact, the selection is treated by the campaign as if it does. I must admit, my analysis here only goes so deep, and I'm going to rely on distilling some discourse I've seen in the past 24 hours surrounding this nomination. The possible political rationales for VP selection that I will look at are the following. Number 1, home state or regional surrogate. Number 2, issue or constituent support. Number 3, characteristic balancing. Number 4, party unity. And number 5, governing support. These rationales are not mutually exclusive and multiple may be applied. Number 1, home state or regional surrogate. This involves the VP pick assisting in winning their home state and possibly gaining support from a wider range of states in proximity to their home state. Hillary Clinton's selection of Tim Kaine from Virginia is one such example, aiding the ticket in Virginia as well as nearby North Carolina. In that case, Virginia was won narrowly in 2016 by Clinton, while North Carolina only went to Trump by a slim margin. As for Vance, while in the past Ohio was a swing state, it is likely that it will be solidly red for this year's cycle. However, JD Vance may be a useful surrogate in the Rust Belt, particularly in the rural areas of Pennsylvania and Michigan, which are critical states in this election cycle. Therefore, I rate this rationale as plausible. Number 2, issue or constituent support. This rationale bolsters a ticket regarding a specific issue or to shore up a constituency that is needed in the coalition building process, but which might have misgivings about a specific candidate. An example of this type of pick is Trump's selection of Mike Pence as his VP. There was trepidation over Trump in the evangelical community, both for his general moral standing and his commitment to the abortion issue specifically. Mike Pence's pick aimed to reassure this group and deliver their votes to President Trump. Regarding Vance, while in the past he has been highly critical of Trump, he appears substantially aligned with him now on policy issues. I don't see any particular issue or constituency that Senator Vance brings into Trump's orbit or bolsters which he did not already possess. As such, I rate this as not a plausible rationale. Number 3, characteristic balancing. This rationale involves balancing out potential perceived character flaws or gaps in the primary candidate and compensating for such faults with the VP selection. For an example, I point to President Obama's selection of Joe Biden. President Obama was a young senator with little experience in Washington when he ran in 2008. Joe Biden had been a fixture of the Senate for decades and could compensate both for Obama's perceived youth and perceived lack of experience. In the case of Senator Vance, I believe this may be an inverse with what we saw with Obama-Biden, this time with a very young, 39 years old candidate to contrast with Trump's and Biden's advanced age. In addition, difference in backgrounds, with Vance coming from a poor background, something he has highlighted as essential to his political character through his book Hillbilly Elegy, compared to Trump's wealth, may also factor in. Therefore, I rate this rationale as plausible. Number 4, party unity. This involves using a VP pick to unite the party after a particularly contentious primary process. An example for this can be seen with President Reagan's selection of George H.W. Bush as his VP after a bruising primary campaign, uniting both the insurgent and more established wings of the GOP ahead of the 1980 campaign. In the case of Vance, the GOP already appears largely united, and the Ohio senator did not represent any alternative wing of the party. A figure like Nikki Haley or perhaps a Marco Rubio would have been more indicative of such a move. Therefore, I rate this rationale as not plausible. Number 5, governing support. This final rationale is not common, but does have some precedent and involves picking a VP specifically to aid in governing. President George W. Bush's selection of Dick Cheney is one such example, in my view. VP Cheney not only having substantial influence over defense and foreign policy, but also populating large portions of the national security architecture with his devotees. This, in theory, would allow President Bush to focus on other areas. As President Trump has already served in the executive and the relative inexperience of Vance in governing, this seems unlikely, and I rate this as not plausible. To sum up, it appears of the 5 rationales I have examined, only regional surrogate and characteristic balancing seem to be at play in Vance's selection, at least in my opinion. It may be that the VP pick does not have a major impact on the race. However, given the dynamics of this particular election, with 2 very senior candidates on top of both tickets, and the recent assassination attempt against President Trump, Americans may pay more attention to the vice presidential candidates than they have done in the past. We'll have to wait and see, though. Well, what do you think? Are there other political criteria that may have gone into the selection process that I did not cover? Would you disagree with my characterizations? What other VP picks might fit into these categories? And why do you think Trump picked JD Vance? Let me know in the comments below. This is Kotel, and thanks for watching.